In the US, Kenner has Star Wars toys. Over in the UK, the sister company of Kenner, Powell Toys, released Star Wars toys. And down in Australia was Tall Toys. Let's look at their toy catalog, and you might find some prototype Star Wars figures. Welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's me, the Junkman, coming back at you to talk about the toys from down under. That's right, toys from Star Wars released in Australia. Sure, they were the same, mostly the same thing as the Kenner and Powell Toys, but down there they were under Tall Toys. I hope I said that right, Tall Toys, because heaven forbid I say something wrong, it'll blow up in the comment section. But so sorry if I pronounced it wrong. I'm not from Australia, okay? I don't eat shrimp, and I really don't eat shrimp if I put it on a Barbie doll. So let's move on. And what we're going to do is look at their toy catalogs, production catalogs. These were mostly given out to toy retailers so they know what was coming from the toy company. We're not going to look at every page. We're not going to look at the Star Wars related pages. One thing, because that's the only pages I have to look at, and because they show some prototype and other interesting things. Now, being that these were Australia, you know, they had to get them in this book and down to Australia fast, so they couldn't wait till final production. So a lot of these are different than what we got at the stores. So let's open the 1978 Tall Toys production catalog. First up, we start with the 12-inch large size action figures. Look at that Luke Skywalker. No doubt in anyone's mind that's a prototype, like it's made from a different figure. Look at that hair. Even the Princess Leia looks a little different, because both of those heads are definitely from another toy line. Not really sure who. Maybe that's a Hardy Boys. I'm not really sure. We also know the Ben, Luke, and Darth Vader are shown with the very rare double-tip lightsaber. That's when that little part at the end would pull out also. That's why they call it telescoping. Ben's cape is also very dark brown. The Tusken Raider is also at a stage before his final figure. And if you notice in the catalog, he is referred to as Tusken Raider, although he wouldn't be officially called that on the package until Return of the Jedi. And although the jaw was kind of small, it is an early prototype of it also. But they did change the vinyl cape and have him in his cloth brown robe. The oddest one here is for sure the Death Squad Commander. I mean, it looks more like a black stormtrooper or something. That's just totally odd. I did a whole video about this figure, so I'll link it at the end of this video. So we got page 32. Wasn't that wild? Aren't you excited you stayed here to watch? Some of you dropped off. Didn't get to see page 32. They're missing a lot, because after page 32 comes page 33. Let's take a look. Here's a prototype of the land speeder. Yeah, the front part of it seems to be a little bit longer. And of course it has a little handle for the pop-up. There's also doesn't seem to be any seats in the thing. The die-cast vehicles shown are early prototypes also. I don't think I really have to point out how different they are. I mean, look at the X-Wing. It don't even look like it's through being painted. The X-Wing and TIE Fighter, again, are at the early stage of development, and a lot different than what we did get. Page 33 is history. Now we're going to flip it over to page 34. Here's the laser rifle and laser pistol, both prototypes. We look at more than just prototype action figures. Prototype toy guns. Let's go to page 35. Escape from the Death Star board game, which I guess isn't a prototype, looks about like the one we got. And a Tall Toys jigsaw puzzles, which looks similar to the Kenner ones. Page 36 shows the Play-Doh action playset, the Space Race game, and Give a Show projector, which I believe is a different color than the Kenner one. Well, it's the top of my head. Page 37 shows mask, a pop bag, a radio control R2, and plush characters. Check out that Chewbacca. Looks like he's going to take the dance floor at the Regal Beagle. And let's go back to the R2-D2 pop bag. These were like little balloons with sand in the bottom. You're supposed to punch them. But according to the description, this one's not made for bopping. R2 is for loving. That's right, that R2 was made for loving. You ain't supposed to punch it. And ain't it curious? It was kind of shaped like a penis. Let's look at another page, which is the final page of at least this catalog. Page 38 shows a painting book, post art, and the electric toothbrush. Yes, you heard about how Bob Dylan went electric. Well, 1978, a toothbrush went electric. With 1978 out of the way, it was time to focus on 1979 and Series 2 of Star Wars figures. And believe it or not, we got another catalog that shows some early concept prototypes of Star Wars toys. Let's take a look. The fun starts on page 30. You can see the action figures of the first 12 released, but the new ones are the Death Star Droid, Power Droid, R5-D4, Greedo, Hammerhead, Walrus Man, and yes, Blue Snaggletooth. Because, as you probably guessed, Blue Snaggletooth would have been released on a card and everything if they didn't change it before release. Let's go to page 31. Check out this dewback. Do I have to tell you that's a prototype? Look at that thing. And I think the brown part of the saddle is supposed to be the Stormtrooper's legs. They look really long. But that dewback looks more like a dinosaur. And of course, that's the Death Star that the UK got. They got it in Australia also. Check out these diecast ships on page 32. Of course, these bottom ones you can tell are prototypes. Look at that Falcon. You can tell that's a prototype. You got the Imperial Cruiser and Y-Wing Fighter. And even the word Millennial in Millennium Falcon is spelled incorrectly. And it does look like some of these pictures were flopped or reversed for the catalog. Why? I'm not really sure. Page 33 shows the Landspeeder prototype, just like we saw in the other catalog. I guess they just didn't care about 1978. And there also is the Sonic Control Landspeeder. Yes, the lightsaber is in Obi-Wan's left hand, but it seems the image has been flipped. And he is wearing a darker cape, like in the 1978 catalog. And at the bottom of the page is the X-Wing and Darth Vader TIE Fighter. Let's look at the large size 12-inch figures that's on page 34 and 35. There's Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewbacca. And yes, that Han Solo has the head of Donny Osmond. On page 34, we see Darth Vader, C-3PO, R2-D2, and Stormtrooper. But that's really not a picture of the 12-inch large-size Stormtrooper. It's just the regular figure blown up to look like it's big. On page 36, we have the NPC model kits of Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, X-Wing Fighter, R2-D2, and 3PO. As far as I can tell, it's nothing really different here. But I don't know the models that good, so if you see something I didn't catch, let me know. On page 37, we have a laser rifle, lightsaber, and laser pistol. And again, I think these are close to what was released. And again, let me know if it wasn't. On page 38 is an assortment of non-action figure merchandise, including masks, post art, and a plush character. There and that Chewbacca, still getting down at the Regal Beagle. Page 39 shows the remote control R2-D2, and shows some other puzzles, and even a Battlestar Galactica puzzle. Huh? Battlestar Galactica on the Star Wars page? Well, I guess it's the only way they could get attention to Battlestar Galactica puzzles was by sticking them on the Star Wars page. On page 47, we have the Adventures of R2-D2 and Destroy Death Star board game. You also get a look at Boggle, the game that you give to any Jewish kid turning 13. And Probe. I don't know what Probe is, but I don't want to get one. You know, those names of those games always bothered me. Destroy Death Star board game. It's not Destroy the Death Star. Escape from Death Star game isn't Escape from the Death Star. I don't understand why they did it. That kind of bothers me. But let's look at one more. Let's go up to 1980. The release of Empire Strikes Back. Are we going to get early prototypes of Empire Strikes Back stuff? Well, let's find out. Let's start with page 10, where it shows the Series 1 and Series 2 figures that were already out, and still showing Blue Snaggletooth. We don't see any new figures until page 11. The first wave of Empire Strikes Back action figures. These all appear to be hand-painted early action figures. I mean, look at Han Solo. You can tell that one's got different paint. It's got a brown top of the hood. And again, the Death Star playset. Page 12, we have the Droid Factory, which is like the US release, not the UK release that was slightly different. The Land of the Jawas and Creature Cantina. And the first Star Wars carrying case. On page 13, we have more playsets, like the Hoth Ice Planet and Imperial Attack Base. And again, you can see some of those hand-painted figures, like that weird-looking Han Hoth on a Tauntaun. And you also see a little kid's hand pushing a button. I can see that hand belongs to a little kid named Steve. Page 14 shows the 12-inch action figures, and these all seem to be what was released in stores. Nothing really exciting or new here. Page 15 was the other 12-inch figures. The new IG-88 and the others already released, Ben Kenobi, Darth Vader, Jawa, and Boba Fett. But why am I telling you their names? You know who they are by looking at them. On page 16, we have the first 4 released diecast figures. And they're still showing the prototype of the Imperial Cruiser, the Millennium Falcon, and the Y-Wing. I guess down in Australia toy stores, they didn't care if the toy looked like what was in the catalog. On page 17, we have more diecast vehicles. The prototype version of a snowspeeder, Slave 1, and the Cloud car is called Bipod Ship. I've never heard of that before, and it's white. And we have some lucky kid playing with the Millennium Falcon. On page 18, we have the Landspeeder, still the prototype, and the prototype of a snowspeeder, which shows a different cockpit, and both of the guns are different. And again, we have Bipod Ship prototype, That's a twin pod cloud car. This one is like a dull gray. And we have a little kid playing with his Imperial troop transporter. I'm going to call him Ricky. Is that a name of a kid in Australia? I don't know. I don't know if it's an Australian name or not, but I'm going to call him Ricky. Page 19, we have the Force lightsaber, laser pistol, and laser rifle. Again, really nothing different here than what was released. On page 20, we see the remote control R2-D2. That dang electric toothbrush again, jigsaw puzzles, mask, and electric battle command game. On page 21 are the NPC model kits, Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, the X-Wing Fighter, and also some non-Star Wars items. Large alien figure. And on the final page, page 36, we have the Destroy Death Star and Adventure of R2-D2 board game. And they try to sneak in some non-Star Wars board games to get people excited. The Incredible Hulk, a Mork and Mindy board game? Come on. And the Alien game, which is boring because I've played this. But that's a look at some of the catalogs from Tile Toys, the toy company in Australia that released Star Wars action figures. You got to see some prototypes and some early designs of how toys might would have looked. I'm glad they changed the color of that cloud car and the name. That's just odd. Well, let me know in the comments below. Are you from Australia?
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.